Hello and welcome to From Inside. My name is Kristen Huetz and I'm one of the life coaches here at the Center for Optimum Living. And tonight I'll be in dialogue with Dr. Sal Benanti, who is the founder and director of the center. And he conceived of the center while he was receiving his doctorate from Columbia University. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Yes, I want to, first of all, this is the first time we're doing anything like this, so bear with us. I want to welcome everyone. I mean, right now we're in a situation where people ranging from being right up close to the front lines to other people much further back. People, it's like some people are hitting like the most turbulent part of the river in their lives ever, and other ones are in a less turbulent area. But all of our lives have been disrupted, at least the routines and patterns that we've been used to for so long, they've been disrupted. And within that, we all have opportunities to respond to this in different ways, and we can see that too. Certainly with what we see on the news, which is sometimes so scary, people are beginning to become more and more held in the stir of that tension, as opposed to being able to find a way to just be with it, accept it, adjust to it, and believe it or not, thrive within it. I think it was M. Scott Peck, it was in Road Less Traveled, saying something like, our problems do not go away, they call forth our courage and our spirit. Without the problems, we would not have the courage of our spirit. And so, yeah, we're going to be speaking tonight to who's ever listening that runs the whole gamut. And we're real people here, just like you. And we too are experiencing whatever it is we're experiencing within this. And much of it has to do with the way we're perceiving it, what we're seeing here. We're seeing another time in the course of world, life, civilization, that people have hit real hard times. And if it were not for them thriving, we would not be here. And they did, and we will.
Yeah, we're living through such a moment in history in so many ways. I imagine, well, I know I certainly think about that. How is this going to be perceived 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 500 years from now? It's interesting to think about. But referring to what you're saying, I'm reminded of the words of the French philosopher Simone Weil. We must not wish for the disappearance of our troubles, but for the grace to transform them. And I think grace is what is being called for in this moment. Not an easy thing to muster during a time of such uncertainty, but we are seeing a lot of that from a lot of people, the ability to be graceful through such a turbulent, uncertain, disorienting time in our history.
It brings to mind the word suffering, which many of you with whom I've worked, we've talked about. To suffer from, I believe it's the Latin suff, like like sub, under, ferrying, suffering, we carry. We carry whatever is pressing down upon us. And sometimes I'm sure in everyone's life, I know in mine, you feel like the load is too much, you can't bear it. But somehow, if you find your way with the right people and the right kind of support and the right kind of love and awareness and connection, the strength grows. And what at one point, I think at times in my life, I felt like I had a log on my back. After a while, you strengthen and you wonder, what was I even worried about? What was I so concerned about? There's a lot to be concerned about right now. It's the worry that gets us. Concern, yeah, you prepare and you do the best you can with whatever it is you're dealing with.
And the unknown. I think the unknown is, yes, there is a lot to be afraid of, but there's so much that we don't understand. And I feel like throughout history, when we don't understand something, that fear of not knowing, not understanding is, there have been a lot of good things that have come from that and a lot of negative things that have come from that. But it's just it's a scary place to be for a lot of people, I think, myself included, just not understanding fully what we are dealing with. We sort of get it. We get more information each day, but there's a lot that we don't understand and probably won't understand for a long time. And accepting that, I think is difficult. But accept it we must. We have no option because we can't. And I think that's, I think the acceptance of it for me has been a really important part of going through this whole ordeal. Granted, my situation may not be the same as someone else's situation. Certainly not. I'm still working. I don't have to worry about not feeding my family, things like that. And there are a lot of people out there who have those worries. There are people out there whose family members are sick or possibly have passed. And that's really, I can't even imagine it. Although I guess I can, because my niece is terribly sick. She does not have COVID-19, but she is receiving cancer treatment throughout all of this. And talk about grace from that family. They've had to be exposed repeatedly to hospitals, and they've shown the most incredible grace under pressure that I've ever witnessed. It's humbling, truly. So yeah, I guess every person's experience is unique, and that's something just I'm marveling at that, the uniqueness of each experience in this experience that we're all sharing.
And you began by mentioning the word acceptance, and that is truly a key. And the world's wisdom traditions and spiritual traditions speak about acceptance in the most profound way. Acceptance is not with resentment or shame or guilt or why me. The acceptance is the full, open-armed beholding of whatever is going on as if it were a gift. Now, that might sound way out there for people who are in horrific situations. But I've got to tell you, there have been people in my life, in my professional life that I've worked with who, get themselves into situations or find themselves in situations or get thrust upon them situations that it's like, how can they ever get through this? And many times we don't know how, but we do know that with total acceptance, which means no resentment, no anger, just fully, okay, here is where and who I am. For 12 years, I worked in physical rehabilitation in the city. And I mean, I met some people that really taught me a lot about acceptance in being able to come to grips with, okay, finally, when they get down to it, okay, here I am. This is now the body I have, or this is now the financial situation I have, or this is now the social status I have, which is very different from what I ever thought it would be. And once there's full acceptance, that's where grace comes in. And we find ourselves from the inside out beginning to rise up and do what we need to do to bring those situations and those circumstances into a better order, which is what every one of us right now is having to do, to take the situation, the dynamics involved, and put it into an order. Now, again, if you're in the most turbulent part of the river, that's tough to do when everything's flying around. And when you're in another part, well, you maybe have a little more time and energy to do that. And therefore, you're able to bring up the very best of who you are and put it into the situation by God's grace or whatever your belief system is. You're able to bring up all the best that's within you and let yourself be a good influence on the people, places, things around you.
That appears to be, for myself, I feel like that is the key, is attempting to find my best self. And it's challenging. I find it very challenging to be my best under these high pressure, disorienting conditions. But here I am living in a house with other people. And if I come from a place of fear and anxiety, that's only going to lead to anger and resentment and all those other negative feelings. But
and at the same time, we all know we can't. It's either I'm calm or I'm anxious. You know, either I'm at peace or I'm stressed. There's all these things going on at once, and
exactly,
becoming centered is that you're not caught up in it. You have the healthy distance enough to say, you know, my anxiety is really starting to get the best of me, or my anger is really getting the best of me, or my fear, or my sense of hopelessness is getting the best of me. But I have to be aware of me to be able to do that, and I have to have an eye that is wide open wide. Well, maybe never wide open wide, but open up enough to be able to notice what one is doing. You know, the unexamined life is not worth living. That's what that means. It's not you put yourself under a microscope. It means pay attention. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you doing? And how can I think, feel, and do something good here? How can I adjust my thinking, my feeling, my doing, so that I can be a better influence here? Well, one of the most wonderfully, well, there's been a number of wonderfully powerful experiences in my life that have taught me this, but was really getting to understand and play with, if you will, improvisational acting. In which case, in a therapeutic form, a group therapy type of situation. And one of the most interesting things to me was having the assignment of, you're out of the room, everyone's in the room doing some type of improvisational action, and you have to open door, walk onto the scene. You don't know what you're walking into, and you have to determine what you can do to somehow be of good influence here. So you look around the room, you see someone who maybe needs a hand, or you see someone being imposed on, and you sort of do what you need to kind of help that out. Or you see everyone is in a depressed mood, so you go there with them to see what's going on and happening. But as a matter of being of good influence, how can I be a better influence in the scene I've just walked into? And everyone at home, and I do this myself, can practice this at home when you walk into a room. You know, imagine being able to walk into a room without preoccupation. You walk into a room, what's here? Oh, that needs picking up, that needs fixing, that needs doing. This person's here, they need to be alone, they need me to come near them. And it was such a wonderful experience for me in a living type of drama, if you will, to be able to go on to a stage, and like Shakespeare said, we're all actors on a stage, to go into a scene and see what can I do to be a good influence here. And if you could do that 24/7, please give me a call, because I've never met anyone who could. But we do our best. It's the ideal, which would be idealistic to assume that you're going to hit the ideal. I think maybe when you die, you hit the ideal. But between now and then, you're kind of hopefully growing, evolving, moving, becoming more for the sake of the golden rule.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you definitely pinpointed my experience when talking about the mixtures of emotions. While I don't want to fall into the anxiety and fear, it exists around me. It is part of my experience right now. But as you pointed out, I don't want to become it. I don't want to become any emotion. I want to experience those emotions, but as you pointed out, from a healthy distance. Otherwise, the negative sides of things can definitely come out.
The simple difference between I am feeling angry and I am angry. You know, I am feeling fear or I am afraid. Once we get sucked into the center of the emotion, then, you know, a person who, then you're raging. It's just the anger is coming.
It's interesting because a trip to the grocery store used to be, you know, just a trip to the grocery store, maybe a little inconvenient. And now it feels like completely, well, it is. It's a completely different experience as I put on a mask and I make sure I have my hand sanitizer and I'm very aware of the other people in the store. The experience has completely transformed.
Yes.
But I am trying to I want to transform through it, but in the most positive way that I can.
So we do that by being of good influence, by bringing that grace or spirit or soul or heart or whatever you want to call it up and out, and you put it out there. And that's how it gets fed. It's a loop.
For sure. And feeling, I find for myself, one of the best things I can do is to appreciate the fact that I can go to the grocery store still, that I am able to pay for my groceries,
Exactly.
and that the people working there who are exposing themselves daily, much more than I am, are there and taking care of my needs and my neighbors' needs and my family's needs and my friends' needs. I am amazed at, like, I believe, I picture myself as a grateful person. I'm grateful for a lot of things in my life, but I feel like that particular part of myself has grown exponentially because I can't help but appreciate more than ever the people that perhaps I didn't think about along the line of people who help us live our lives every day. The sanitation.
That appreciation and that gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what kind of supports and fuels the people who are at those front lines, who are out there doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some of my phone clients in different states, and people I work with on all levels of this situation. That one of the most beautiful things I heard is someone who lives in a community area where everyone is going to be putting a candle in their window to show that they appreciate the efforts and work that this person and really everyone in her family is doing.
Yes.
So, that's of good influence. That's being of good influence. Whatever and to whatever extent you can influence what you've accepted as the moment into a better evolved kind of position.
And I think when we are able to be of good influence, it takes the spotlight off of our own fears and anxieties, if that makes sense. When my niece, who's only 8 years old, got sick, she's very, very sick. But the rallying around her that I witnessed was, again, so humbling. And when the whole pandemic started, I was, especially concerned for her family. It was, my sister is her mom. And I was worried about them, not only their physical safety, but a lot of our efforts to help them had to be stopped. Yeah. But I find that the compassion did not stop at all. She's about to have a birthday, and not only did all those people say, we're going to do a special kind of birthday party for her that's safe, but the police are coming, the fire department is coming.
So they found a way to infuse, in spite of the initial sense of helplessness, found a way to infuse some good change into the situation. What's the best we can do?
Yes.
And give something else. What's the best you can do? A person with a physical ailment that can no longer do well now, but this is the best you can do.
And that grace and that coming from my niece, coming from my sister and her husband, they have transformed. Sure, they wished it would disappear, but rather than wish it would disappear because it won't,
right?
They have transformed into people who have accepted this lot, which seems absolutely unfair, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's here. We can't change it. So let's move forward. Let's be the best that we can be. And that's been an incredible thing to witness. And I believe that transformation within them has emanated out to so many people, because they've all had the opportunity, myself included, to transform into the best that we can be in the hopes of lifting some of the weight off of them, lifting the burden and sharing it with them. And I believe that's what we all are trying to do when we ring bells outside, when we light candles in our window. We want to lift the burden off of someone else And when we lift the burden off of someone else, it lifts a little bit of our burden as well.
And I think that's exactly right. And I think that, that's what is inherent in the word transform. You change the form. What is going to change the form? Something intangible, some ideas, some divine inspiration, some manual, if you will, some suggestions, some idea, but that sparks something on the inside. And you say, I need to find a way. Many times our first reaction is, I need to get out of this thing if I can. Or we're in it looking constantly for an exit, which unless we really stop and take a look at where we are, we're not going to find the exit. We have to say, if I want to exit, I got to first of all be here. And anything that's going to come is going to come out of this moment. Too many times we are absent from this moment and we are elsewhere where we'd rather be and we want to be and what it should be and why this happens. And that's all wasted time and energy if you really want to get out of where you are. Easier said than done. And essential to have other people doing it with you, because if you feel totally isolated and totally alone, well, it's time to start reaching out there. Call someone, call a friend, call a neighbor. You'll be amazed how people are really there for each other right now, especially when they hear the truth. Hey, you know what? I'm really suffering right now. I need an ear. And some people, are going to give you as much ear as you want, and others, they're going to quickly want to jump in and try to fix it for you. Mm-hmm. Some of us want it fixed real quick, and that's what we need. And some of us want someone to sit and hear it and hear the feelings as we unwind ourselves from the feeling, to get back on course, to be a good influence on the situation around you.
And I think those that are alone, I think that's that's a very difficult thing, because we all want to just be seen, I believe.
And let me jump in for a second here, because it brings to mind a client who I know is living alone. And what began to be a transformative moment for her is when she did precisely what you said and realized her guiding image, her mantra, if you will, was to give comfort. So she began reaching out and finding ways to give comfort, even to her cat, but to give comfort. And, even to yourself. Hopefully many people are not taking advantage of this transformative time where the forms are changing, to take a look at, well, what ways would you like to transform your life when this thing is over? And an interesting question is that if we all woke up tomorrow morning and found that all restrictions were gone, there was no more virus, go back to what was, what would you miss about this time? What will you miss about this time? It's probably something you've been missing for quite a while, and maybe something you could even somehow find to seep in to what your life will be after this. That's called transforming. You're changing the form. But you have to be the one to change it, and you have to receive the empowerment, the uplifting of your spirit, the strengthening of your soul, if you will.
And to appreciate.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and to appreciate the gifts that come with adversity. I find that it can be really challenging to see adversity, to see the gifts that come through adversity. But as you have pointed out to me over the years, anytime I have gone through a dark time, there's always been light somewhere. It might be dim, it might be far away, but it's there. And if I hold on to that notion, eventually I know that things will improve.
Right. And somehow we don't even know how. It's just, right. It's, it comes out of patience. It comes out of faith. It comes out of an optimistic anticipation that you'll find a way. Those words, you'll find a way. When I was a kid, I was 16, my dad died, and he used to have all these little sayings. So one thing he'd often say to me is, when I'd say, hey, Dad, I really want to, or whatever, he'd say, well, find a way. Find a way. Find a way. I mean, my God, if people like, Viktor Frankl could do it in the death camps. Realized he was a psychiatrist who was taken to the death camps, most of his family gone, and really pretty soon figured out that what they were doing was trying to rip away their spirits. So he did the best he could to continue to be kind and to be gentle and to be giving. And these incredible scenes of him receiving some filthy water and cleaning it the best he could and looking around to see who needed it more than him. Jesus Christ, the story of Jesus, and the love coming out, Nelson Mandela. I mean, all people who were able to find the inner strength, Gandhi, to find the inner strength to get through these things. And with their terrors and with their fears and with their angers, but having enough healthy distance from them to not become lost in them. It may hit them for a while, like a wave. It hits you for a while, and then you have to kind of learn how to swim with it and come out and get back to work. The work to bring the best of our potential, the best of who we are, up and out and into form, and into a form.
And it's okay. And acceptance comes. We also want to shine that on ourselves when we are feeling that disoriented, when we get hit by a tidal wave. It's okay to go through that period of disorientation, of not knowing which end is up and feeling like are drowning.
Like when you really get sucked into a wave. Like
it feels that way. Yeah. And then, but you somewhere we hang on to the notion that lifesaver is there, that we will be able to find which way is up. We will figure this out. It's okay. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to feel beaten up by it. And then I'm going to find a way to move through it and be the best that I can be. And that happens through tragedy.
Until I can't anymore. Until you can't anymore.
Right.
The differences that have gone on in everyone's life here have really been amazing. People losing people and not being able to go through the normal routines of what you do when a loved one passes. People finding themselves questioning if they have a job down the line, or maybe using it as a time to shift careers in a world that you don't know what careers are even going to be there when this is done, what businesses and companies will be. And there will be changes coming, and you will be the one in the center of that change in terms of your own world and life. And this is not the first time in human history that people have gone through a thing. And hey, we've been through Hurricane Sandy, we've been through 9/11. When I was a kid, Cuban Missile Crisis. We first moved out to New Jersey from the city. We heard about gypsy moths were going to devastate all the trees, there weren't any trees left, the black hole, on and on and on and on. And somehow we get through these things until the one time we don't. And it could be because of an external or something with our own body, mind, emotions. Our bodies age, they grow, the weakest link inevitably breaks down. And we have to know we all have weak links. So we do the best we can to strengthen and uphold them.
And it harkens back to the fear of the unknown, because if it is our time to go, we don't really know what that means. And that can, that in and of itself, that fear of the unknown,
right,
to whatever comes next, helps, doesn't help, it hinders, I guess, our struggle with all of this, but acceptance,
exactly. And that speaks directly to what are you accepting? You're accepting what you perceive, which is part of your belief system.
And your humanness. We are human.
Of course. And we need to cultivate perspectives that are uplifting and that are empowering. You bring up, the final mystery, what happens after we leave this life. There's all kinds of theories and research and philosophies and ideas and all kinds of things about it. The truth is we've come from mystery, we live through this life, which is surrounded by mystery, and then we go off into another mystery. My own belief is that there is something on the other side. I we'll know. I think the best that we can believe and conceive our little pea brains, it's going to be well beyond that. Mm-hmm. But I think we do go to something better. And if we have a good belief that opens us to that, that enables us to live life with more balance, more courage, more compassion, more love, more wisdom. And if we don't, we go through our lives with a lot more fear and anxiety and trepidation and worry and attachment, as they talk about in Buddhism, that we get attached as opposed to being able to hold everything loosely. You know, I got to share this image. I thought about this last couple of days a few times. I spoke to Jorge Beretta, one of our other coaches, about this one time. And he was in a Marine police, he's retired from the police department. And I was saying how when I was a kid and I went to camp, they did a drawing of which kid and which, one kid from every cabin had a box with the other kid. And they pulled out my name, and I got matched up with a kid they called Bear. And the reason they called Bear, because he was bigger and he had this burly hair. And man, I was so scared. Preface that with, I had learned to box because I had cousins who were wonderful. They got scholarships to Syracuse University for their boxing. They taught me how to box, so I knew how to do that. But I was always boxing with sort of my cousins and my friends, and now I was going up against Bear. And I remember as I was approaching it, my friend who was the camp with me said to me, you know, how do you feel? And I said, I can't think about how I feel right now because I just want to run. He said, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm just going to remember what my cousins have taught me and just not let myself get hurt by this, defend myself so I'm not hurt by it, and go through the match and try not to really hurt the guy. I mean, you know, get the points or whatever you need, but don't really hurt the guy. And, you know, so that was an important learning lesson for me, because through my life, I had sometimes seen things that just, you know, weaken me to the knees. How people could be so cruel physically to other people. Years later, I'm in New York, and for a while I was studying Aikido, which is a beautiful Japanese martial art. Although with the 3 dojos in the city, one you walked into and you thought you were taking your life into your hands. Another one, it was like being in a Buddhist temple, which was beautiful, but I didn't really want to do that at that point. And the other was just this beautiful group of people like dancers. And the whole idea was that when you enter a situation, your task is to restore harmony. Your task is not to beat, to hurt, to win. It's just to restore the balance, restore the harmony. And what I'd gotten most from my time and study with that was that, again, back to the world's wisdom traditions and that part that's always connected, which is that we're here to serve. We're here to do something. But I cannot do something unless I'm receiving the support, the love from other people that we now are giving to all those people out there on the front lines. And the people far from the front lines dealing with their own difficulties and transitions and transformations. But that's what our life is about, to bring that essence into form. What the world religions refer to as the soul, others talk about as your true self or your deep self. Invert the image, you got your higher self. And in my own sense, it's a deeper and higher self. Yes. There's the one from the left and the right and the front and the back. But there's energies that are centering within me. And therefore, that is my life energy, which came in when I was born and will go out when I die. And while that life energy is here, I need to nurture the best of this body I have. And this mind that I have, and the emotions that I feel, to nurture the best of it so they become the conduit through which the best of myself can come through, the best of my soul, my spirit can come through. And what's in there? Well, it's what everyone describes. Courage, patience, love, passion, compassion, courage, righteousness, all the good stuff, which we can go and read millions of volumes of books. Or you can stop reading right now and just think about, I need to practice the golden rule. I need to do unto others as I would have them do unto me. Because way down on that deep level, there are no others. I think it was Emerson said that on the way to your soul, the closer you get to your soul, the more you realize you're coming to our soul.
And I believe that is why when we take the spotlight off of ourselves and support someone else, whether it's through appreciation or some sort of support, we feel so much better because we're really helping ourselves.
Sure. How many times have you been in a situation and someone just comes up and says, "You okay?" And they're saying essentially, "Look, I'm here, with you. I'm here with you." You know, in the wonderful, simple, beautiful book by Rabbi Harold Kushner entitled "When Bad Things Happen to Good People," I heard him speak one time, and he said, "I did not title it why bad things happen to good people, because bad things happen to good people, but it's when." And the bottom line of his book was, when bad things happen to good people, go be with them, so they don't have to be going through it alone. And a number of times in my own life that has happened has been the simplicity of a friend pulling his car up in front of my house after my dad died and just taking me for a ride. We didn't talk, but we just went for a ride. And I'll never forget that moment of healing. Or other times when I had situations and someone just kind of essentially said, "You're not alone." And we're knowing we're not alone from this pandemic, but still, we all probably could do a little bit better to reach out and connect, because we'll never do it perfectly. And sometimes we get in moods and we forget and preoccupied, because that's our human condition.
Connection. I think that's it. That's you know, again, we want to be seen. We want to reach out and have those connections with people, because that's what makes us the most human.
And we do not want to be connected by a naughty virus, as my granddaughter calls it. We don't want to be connected by a naughty virus. We want to be connected by the good virus, if you will, of care and love and compassion and service and all the good things.
Most definitely.
So I think that we are approaching the end of our time, if I'm correct. Yeah. You are. I am. Okay. So I wanted to be sure that at the end of this, I covered a few important bases. So I wrote this down. Okay. Oh, so I want to remind everyone that during this exceptionally unusual period in our lives, each of our center's 5 life coaches is offering a complimentary phone or video session to as many people as they can. So no matter your situation, please don't hesitate to take them up on their offer. If you can use a hand, reach out, not only to us, but to anyone that is available for you. And with that, like in the TV show, I want to thank Kevin Simonson, who has the IT knowledge to have us actually doing what we're doing right now. Kevin has put endless hours into this, and we so appreciate him for this and everything else he does for us. He's one of our wonderful life coaches. And I also want to thank Kevin for all his patience and teaching me how to do this stuff to the extent that he can. To Laurie Roberts, another one of our life coaches and a Reiki master, who has put together for us the social media and is kind of watching over that for us. Our friend Noah, who in the early stages of this, with some of his great insights, really kind of helped get Kevin off the ground with this. And to my associate director of close to 22 years now, Melissa Jones, who continues to be invaluable to us. I mean, without Melissa, things would not go as smoothly as they do. And last and not least, to my sweet friend, Kristen, who I've known since before her children and her marriage and her trips to remote villages in Africa to help people. Just a beautiful soul with a beautiful smile and so easy to laugh. So anyway, I guess that's it. We welcome, no, it's the welcoming, excuse me. So yes, this was our first webcast, so please let us know what you think. We hope that you'll take from tonight and put into practice whatever has resonated most deeply with you, what you picked up in our conversations. And we'll look forward to being with you again next Thursday at 6:30, when we'll see what we've come up with then. So take good care of yourselves. Be well. Do what you can, best you can. And good night.